On the show today, we have Noah Berk, the co-CEO of a company called Aptitude 8. They are the second largest HubSpot partner in the world. And we cover a ton of different topics covering professional services and the pros and cons of working in that industry, what it's like to actually be tied to a bigger company like HubSpot and working within that ecosystem, and really about scaling a business, being a CEO, and different tactics they're using right now to grow the company. So I took a ton from this, and I'm actually going to apply a bunch of these strategies into my own business to help it grow. And I hope you do as well. Enjoy the episode. We'll speak soon. Noah, thanks for jumping on. Good to be connected and excited to chat founder to founder and share some notes.
Well, thanks, Dan. I appreciate you having me on the show today, and happy to have this conversation and pick my brain and chat about all the fun stuff you'd be interested in.
There you go. It's the power of cold LinkedIn outreach. You connect with different people in different areas, different industries, and personally for me, like I find my favorite founder interviews are with people who are in drastically different worlds, because everyone has their own blinders on as founders, and we'll get into it. But like you got the HubSpot blinders on, I have the staffing recruiting blinders on, and other people have tech like fintech or e-commerce or whatever it may be. So everyone's so absorbed in their own worlds. And if you take the blinders off for a little bit, you can learn from other industries. But if you don't have the blinders on, you're not going to be successful. So I'm super excited to learn about your service business and the HubSpot world and the ecosystem and stuff like that, because I'm sure you're a wealth of knowledge when it comes to Big Orange.
Yeah, well, looking forward to it. Happy to share whatever I can. Hopefully it makes sense.
There you go. Well, I'll give a little context to anyone who's listening or watching. So Noah, you are the now I guess the CEO, and we'll get into this about the merger, but you're the CEO and co-founder of Aptitude 8, which is one of the larger and sort of fastest growing HubSpot partners. I don't know the diamond and elite and gold. You have to tell me what status you guys are.
Yeah, a little humble brag. So quick background there just for a little more clarity. So co-CEO of Aptitude 8, along with my other co-CEO, Rob Glenn. I really focus more on the go-to-market, marketing, revenue, customer experience teams. He focuses on operations, technology, finance. Sometimes we refer to it as internal and external CEO. One's running the business internally, one's the external. So I happen to be that. If you're an EOS practitioner, you may have heard of the concept visionary and integrator. I fall into the visionary, he falls into the integrator category. So really clearly defined roles. I was the initial co-founder of a company called OBO. The OBO group. We were a HubSpot elite partner, and then we merged with Aptitude 8. And we ended up keeping the Aptitude 8 name. And I can go into more details about that in a little bit. But yeah, we are now officially the number 2 HubSpot Global Solutions Partner of the Year. So out of 7,000 companies worldwide. It's a pretty cool honor. I think as the Avis commercial said, that was famous when they kept talking about number 2, it means they just got to try harder. So that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if you're number 1, everyone's coming for your ass. If you're number 2, you got to go after number 1. So it's a hunger position to be in. So you guys are number 2 HubSpot partner, full service partner, everything that has to do with HubSpot, build outs, integrations.
Correct. And we really have a focus. So we're kind of one of the more newer breed, I'll say, where kind of fall more in line with what you would think of as traditional SI in the Salesforce ecosystem. So we're not a marketing agency, really position ourselves as a technical consultancy. HubSpot's gotten configurable enough, complex enough that large enterprises can really leverage and use it. In order for them to fully take advantage of HubSpot, they need to hire companies like us to be able to go in there and help configure it for their teams, train, on board, do the implementations, integrations, and all the work necessary for the enterprise to truly adopt a system like HubSpot for their organization.
100%. I'm super interested in learning about this world because it's a very unique business structure. Like I come from the SaaS world where you got a product, you hit the ground running, you sell it over the phone, you sell it over demos, you sell it in person. These ecosystems like the Salesforce ecosystem, HubSpot ecosystem, or whatever it may be, they're very unique, right? Because you're their partner. Yes. You're a portion of the company outside as a third party, but you live and breathe with them. Like you get business referred from them. The better HubSpot does, the better you guys do, and the more opportunity comes with it. So I'm super interested in learning about the dynamics of it. But I guess going back to the origin of it, which I always think is the interesting part to start with founders, is like, I assume you didn't go to bed dreaming about working in the HubSpot world. Like, how did this even come to be? Like, you guys started in what, 2016 or something like that, like a while
Correct.
ago, whatever that
Yeah.
is, 8, 9 years
So
ago.
me and my business partner and again current CEO, we just wanted to work together at first. So we really weren't quite sure what we were going to be focusing on, what we were going to be doing. In 2016 was one of our focuses, and one of our thesis was sales and marketing alignment, whatever that was going to do, whatever that was going to look like in the long run. And we had two of my best friends were in a digital marketing agency, and they're like, "Listen, guys, you guys should really focus on something around the sales and marketing alignment. We think you have an angle here." But it wasn't like we got into said, "Hey, we're going to be HubSpot partners, we're going to be Salesforce partners." We got into this with a basic concept saying, "Hey, we're going to help with sales and marketing alignment." And the very first thing we started doing was outbound cold emailing before everyone does it nowadays. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
if you're out there, you probably get an email or a LinkedIn message saying we can help you with our outbound demand gen. This was before anyone else was really doing it. And so we would go to companies and say, "Hey, we can help you with email marketing, outbound demand gen." It was good at first. I mean, that was the first few months of business, and it was kind of easy. We sent cold emails, and it was before anyone really knew how to structure and set up these systems, before a lot of the systems you see today. But very quickly, we realized what companies really wanted from us was not just setting up their cold email systems, but setting up their marketing automation, their CRM, connecting all the data, creating actual platforms that they could leverage and grow their organization. And so pretty quickly pivoted to start focusing on the technology aspect, especially marketing automation. Again, still not HubSpot. We ended up using a platform called Mautic, which is an open source email marketing automation platform that most people are
Never
just
even
not
heard of it.
familiar with. Yeah, it's still around. I think the big eye opening piece for us was when it would just randomly send out 100,000 emails about an event that happened 2 years earlier without anyone actually hitting a button. We said, "Okay, we
Yeah,
need a
it's a little
better
bit of a
system
red
than this."
flag.
Yeah, so that's when we started getting HubSpot around 2017. So not end of 2016, 2017, we started dabbling with it, ended up becoming partners with HubSpot, but also started getting into Salesforce and getting into other applications like Monday.com, and really kind of had those three as our focus for the organization. But like any organization, like a professional services team, you need to generate revenue. So we were doing a little bit of everything. We're doing marketing, we're doing agency services, we were doing technology setups. To be honest, that's not really sustainable. You're spread in too many different directions. You have to have too many different types of people on your team. Sure, the revenue is coming in, but not all revenue is made equal. Over time, you start focusing the business, and we ended up first focus, get rid of agency services and focus on technology. And then from there, which technology? So again, you start shedding different things. So although we're still technically Salesforce partners, the Monday.com practice was split off as a separate company. So it operates independently now as its own separate entity. So we could focus strictly on HubSpot as an organization. And so this was a very much of a journey to get here.
Yeah.
To be able to say just HubSpot.
Yeah. And I guess it's interesting. So you're talking about spreading yourself thin and obviously early days taking revenue wherever you can. There's always these people talk about it as like you have to niche down, you got to figure out your focus. And as you said, don't spread yourself too thin. Looking back at it retroactively, like, did you find that to be a problem back in the day, or was it actually beneficial as you look back on it and reflect on it?
So looking back and reflecting on it, it ended up being immensely beneficial because we ended up getting skill sets and understanding and getting experience in other platforms. And then that ended up making us much more valuable to HubSpot. So we know how to migrate people from other platforms into HubSpot, or know how to integrate HubSpot with other platforms. At the time, HubSpot wasn't sophisticated enough that you could build a true technical consultancy just on HubSpot services.
Yeah.
Like you had to have other technologies. You had to offer other things like marketing to be able to have enough recurring revenue. It just wasn't that complex. It wasn't like what it is today, where it's a true enterprise platform where it's completely configurable for any sort of organization. So what we ended up seeing in the marketplace, although we were building our reputation in the HubSpot ecosystem as one of the top technical consultant partners, we started noticing other partners were starting to leap us who were just focused on HubSpot. Over time, you have to kind of say, okay, I can't continue doing everything. I was just getting confused. Like I'd be going to a Salesforce event, a HubSpot event, a Monday event, like trying to keep it all in my head.
Yeah.
Like who's doing what on AI, it was becoming a challenge in itself. And if I'm split in that many different directions, I can only imagine my team who's
Yeah.
trying to keep up with the latest and greatest. So over time, looking back, it was an excellent thing we did because we gained that experience. But yes, the common word of wisdom, niche. And I still agree with that. Still find
Yeah.
a niche, focus on it. The challenge that most organizations have when you do that is, sometimes you also pigeonhole yourself. You put all your eggs in one basket. There's super niches. You can be a niche within HubSpot. You could
Yeah.
niche for, you could say in HubSpot, you can be a HubSpot CMS company who specializes just in credit unions. Like that is niche of a niche. You're a niche of a hub, and within a hub, then you're a niche of an industry in the marketplace.
Yeah, for sure. And
Um,
if you have the exposure, you can see one, what you're good at, but also you can see some insight potentially of which ones there's the most like future potential for. Because I just pulled up in another tab here, like the user base for HubSpot over the year. I'm looking 2017, it was like just under 50,000 users. 2024, it's 250,000 users. So 5X growth.
and those are companies, by the way,
Yeah, those
not
are
even
companies.
users.
Those are companies, not seats. But you could have gone all in if you tried everything and you were in a bunch of different industries and you picked the wrong horse. It doesn't matter how good your business is, how good your operator. If that business doesn't grow, there's not going to be opportunity. So HubSpot was obviously a good horse to pick.
Yeah.
But you might have not found that horse if you didn't try a bunch of things and you sort of picked an initial niche earlier and it fell apart. And I don't know. I don't know if it's contradictory to common business practice, but I am actually of the belief of early on to spread yourself thin and try a bunch of different things in terms of whatever service you're providing, your pricing packages, your ICP. Like everyone has hypothesis of what works and what doesn't work. And if you just try one hypothesis and focus on that one and try to force it, it's not going to work. If you try 5, 6, 7, 10, like eventually you're going to find the one that works and then you can niche down and focus on that. But I know everyone talks about focus, and I think focus at the right time is actually what the saying should be. Like it shouldn't be focused from day one. It should be focused from like the third inning on, because you got to try a bunch of different things.
Yeah, if you just what you said reminded me of some of the new information coming about like athletes. It used to be like, hey, be like Tiger Woods, just focus on golf, 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 golf.
Yeah.
But then they started doing more research that doesn't apply to most athletes who are successful. If you think like Roger Federer, he didn't really become competitive in tennis until he was late in high school. He tried every other sport.
Really?
Like,
I didn't know that.
let me go to like, yeah. So I'm pretty sure it's Roger Federer. It's one of those guys, but I'm pretty sure it's him. And what they discovered is by giving all the different sports, not only do you start developing new skills that can be applied to the sport you ultimately pick, but it gives you that range of experience that helps you further in your career once you actually settle on it. So at some point you will settle on it. So not only do you start early, so you can think of it like business is the same way. Is yes, you can have a Tiger Woods situation. You have a thesis, you go for it, you focus on it, and you just run with it.
Yeah.
It's harder in professional services. I think in software, you have no choice. You got to focus on a niche because it's just so competitive. One company can come in and completely make you irrelevant the next day. And without some sort of moat, it can be really hard to maintain what you have. I think in professional services, there is some benefits to having the ability to work in a lot of different industries across the board, a lot of different experiences to then pick which one's going to make the most sense for you.
Yeah.
But there's no right or wrong answer here. I think what can work, it just depends upon who you are and perhaps what background information you already have prior to getting into your business.
Yeah, fair enough. And we alluded to a couple of things there that I want to transition to. So 2017, you picked your horse. HubSpot was where you're going. I'm sure a ton of other people picked that horse as well. And it must have been insanely competitive in the professional services space. But you guys have grown past a lot of those, except for that one in first place. But we don't need to mention them by name.
We don't mention I like the
let's talk early days. And you said this is your side of the business. Like, how did you kill all the other competitors? How did you win the business? How do you differentiate yourself? Like, what was your go-to-market strategy that ended up winning?
Yeah. So at the time, a lot of HubSpot partners, the bulk of the revenue came from marketing. So they were really focused on, we are a marketing shop who happens to do HubSpot. And whereas we said, nah, we're going to focus on the CRM portion, and we're going to focus on be more of a technical consulting first approach. And so that really led us into a different direction than a lot of other partners. So we started getting early experience in CRM. We ended up becoming HubSpot's first advanced implementation certified partners for CRM, which gave us a firsthand look at what's going on in the marketplace. Well, also what ended up happening is you start building a reputation among HubSpot reps that this company knows how to deal with CRM, whereas all the other companies are really focused on Marketing Hub versus Sales Hub. And all of a sudden you start getting leads coming to you. And it's a force multiplier effect internally. And it's kind of the flywheel. Once you get one, you get another, and it keeps going and going and going. And you build your reputation around it. And so we just built a really strong reputation that we had the technical chops to make HubSpot work for clients. And it was a much different story back in 2018, 2019, 2020, where it wasn't nearly as developed as it is today. Like a lot of things that we had to figure out and make work, like nowadays it's just, table stakes for HubSpot. They know how to do it effectively. So part of it was, okay, we saw our thesis was, especially coming in 2022 and 2023, is enterprises are going to start using HubSpot. Like we see where HubSpot's going. We need to start going all in on HubSpot because it's getting so complicated and so configurable. When I say complicated, I should say complex. It's getting more and more configurable for enterprises that if we don't focus on it, we're going to lose our edge. So ultimately, in the end, we say it's better to focus on something so we maintain that at the bleeding edge than trying to have our team spread too thin and can't add the same value that if we were just focused on a particular technology.
Yeah, it makes sense. And now I think of HubSpot as a CRM platform, but you're right. Like early days, 2016, 18 was my first exposure to HubSpot, and it was just like only our marketing team used it. We used Salesforce on the sales side, and only the marketing team used HubSpot. Now it's obviously a lot more robust than that, but I guess you saw where the puck was going. And it's interesting in the agency world now, I see this happening all the time because agencies sort of go through these, and this may not cyclical, but this trend basis where originally it was like website agencies and building websites, then it was e-commerce agencies, then it was like paid ads agencies. And now I think the most common, not the most common, but the quickest growing agency specialization is short form video agency, because all these platforms, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, they're all pushing short form video and vertical short form video. And all these marketing agencies are like, okay, everyone's going to have to produce short form videos. We'll tell the public that we're the specialists. And I'm sure all of them will probably do relatively well in the short term, but I think like you guys, there's going to be some specialists and superstars who end up winning long term. And if you can strike when the time's right in these trends, I think there's huge business opportunities there and build businesses that you can grow. And obviously HubSpot was a huge one. I think right now vertical video is like a vertical short form video is going to be a huge one in the agency world. Are there any, I guess to pose the question to you, Salesforce, Shopify, HubSpot, like these are relatively saturated in terms of markets. They're obviously all growing and bigger. Is there a specific marketplace or platform that you think is primed to sort of build an agency and support right now?
So that's a really good question. When you think about it, if I was to, let's say, start over again, the question I would ask myself is, if you're going to pick a software or a platform, one, how many different companies or partners or consultancies are in that platform? HubSpot, you're absolutely right. There's 7,000 worldwide, and it's very competitive to just get your foot in the door. Like we got, I don't want to say lucky, we picked the right horse at the beginning, so we were able to build this up. And the moat just got
involved with everything. You created your own luck, but there's definitely luck involved with everything.
Yeah. But if I were to look at it again, I would say, okay, what platforms? One, you got to look at what customers are using that platform. So if you're looking at a platform that is mostly used by SMBs, very small businesses, there's not a lot of professional services revenue that's going to be associated with that. So it's going to be hard to build a big business off it. So you got to ask yourself, are there big companies leveraging that particular platform? And then the second question you got to ask yourself is, the large companies that are leveraging that big platform, what do they need help with? In other words, is it easy to have in-house expertise, be able to get the system up and running, or do they have to leverage third-party partners to be able to do it? And then you also have to say, how much professional services revenue is there? Yeah. You're not going to build a really big business off of 3,000 hour onboardings. If you really want to build a big business, you got to look for a platform that needs consultants, and you're selling 6-figure implementations. You're selling larger engagements that can actually fund the growth of a company, where you don't have like 50 small clients, but you have like, let's say 5 or 10 big clients. I'm not saying put yourself just with one client. So part of it is looking at like, hey, is this a enterprise ready platform, or will it be an enterprise ready platform? Two, how much professional services revenue is there associated with the work that's being done? Three, do they need to keep you on? In other
Yeah.
words, is there long tail revenue? Is there ongoing revenue associated with the work that you're getting? And then you can start picking platforms out there and start saying, hey, this platform may be a really good one for us to go to target. I mean, there's still opportunities in some of the existing ones like Salesforce. I mean, there's
Yeah.
really in Salesforce now, think of Salesforce as like 30 mini platforms. And
Yeah.
maybe you have
Specializing.
experience around manufacturing cloud and you want to go after manufacturing or something.
Yeah. So I
It's
guess
big enough to
going
support a
back to that, and I
business.
think that's a really good checklist of like you literally write that down of like which ones are growing, what's the competition, is there recurring revenue, is this something that they would be willing to use a third party for? Putting you on the spot. If you said like chips in the middle, I'm going to go build on this platform, what would be your choice right now?
Oh, that's such a hard question because
I preface it saying I'm putting you on the spot. I have two, and maybe I'll go first.
no, go first. I'll let you
Because
know.
I think, and yeah, I'd love your feedback on it. I think there's two that come to mind immediately, and I don't know the competitive landscape, so take that for a grain of salt. But I think one is super enterprise and super competitive, but you can literally win one contract and run a great business. And then one is growing very quickly, but is a little bit more. You got to pick a niche in it or sort of angle yourself. And the super enterprise one, not for me, but for the right personality, I think it'd be massive. Is Palantir.
Interesting.
Palantir is like mega enterprise data and
Yes.
data management, data analysis company, and these are like Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies. And the reason I say I think Palantir is great is like one, it's growing. Big data is only getting bigger as an industry, but you could literally win one client. And that's it. That's all you need. Like you don't need a bunch of SMBs. You can win one client. You can employ 50 people and run an incredible business. So I think for the right personality who loves enterprise, has those connections or networks or whatever it may be, like a young kid at a school is not going to run a Palantir integration business.
Correct.
No chance. But from the economics perspective, like Palantir is a monster and that industry is only getting bigger. So for the right personality and the right person who has that sort of hustle, I think that could be huge.
That's one. Yeah, absolutely. And I wouldn't discount industries that are already out there now, like Workday, ServiceNow, Snowflake, cloud computing. Look at what some of the newer cloud computing software out there. Also look at what the amount they're selling for. Like if you purchase Snowflake, you're not getting in
Yeah.
less than six figures.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. So now,
Um,
that's a good transition. So let me go on the other side of the scale. So Palantir is with the Snowflakes of the world, the Oracles of the world. Like you're spending a lot of
correct.
money to integrate these. The other side of the world, which I think is something I'm fascinated with, is the world of automation. And I think getting into the Zapier or the Make.com agency business is going to be huge as well. And the problem I see with the automation world is like it can be applied to anything. You could automate job applications, you could automate lead generation, you could automate blog posts. Like it's going to literally be applied to content creation. Like it'd be applied to anywhere. And I think that's where you would have to be a Make.com specialist or be a Zapier specialist. But within that specialization, you have to specialize in an actual like tactic that you can implement in a business, which is good and bad. So those are my mega enterprise and sort of my SMB mid market of industries that I think could be beneficial.
Yeah. So those integration applications, I think of them more as complementary to whatever your core is. So, like take Make, for example, or Zapier, or one of those two. Like it's hard to build just a business strictly off the integration because you have to know what you're integrating to.
Yeah.
Like what is the source of truth of that particular information to really make the integration? So you may have a source of truth software that you're primarily partnered with, and then use Make and Zapier as complementary.
Yeah.
Like we have a lot of complementary software. We work with CPQ solutions. We work with integration tools, work with reverse ETL applications. We work with CDPs. We're not necessarily going in there and doing the full setup of each one, but we have a really strong understanding how they all work. So if a client has like, hey, I need to bring data from Snowflake into HubSpot, no, not a problem. Okay, let's use some reverse ETL like a Census to be able to bring that data in.
Yeah.
So we have strong partnerships with organizations like Census. So I think there's some of the software out there is very complementary. Like you wouldn't build your business around selling Kixie or one of the calling solutions.
Yeah.
And you got to say, it has to be a source of truth data for you to build a big enough business off of. where
Yeah.
that becomes the main application or people are using. I think it's hard to build if it's just a strictly integration
Yeah.
application. But so think of it like your core, and then you have your complementary software that you'd be working around it. Now, I think there's a lot of opportunity out there across a lot of these. I think just look at what enterprise is using. And when I mean enterprise, I'm not talking about like, the 100,000 employee plus organizations. I'm referring to what HubSpot refers to like the up market, which is really anywhere from like 200, 2,000 or 2,000 to 10,000 employees, which is where
Yeah.
we play in as an organization. And you got to look at what are they using? What
Yeah.
software are they using? And it doesn't have to be just sales and marketing. It can also be operations. It can be ERPs. It can be accounting. There's a lot of businesses you can build around all sorts of different applications if you have the expertise, and the desire for consultants is huge.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think there's two ways to play in these marketplaces. Is like one, as we're talking about, is like third party agencies, integrators, builders, and stuff like that. And the other side of it is app builders. And you
Yes.
think of like Klaviyo for Shopify or whatever, Marketo for Salesforce and stuff like that. Like you use happily for HubSpot, I'll plug it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the other way to think about it is like you can play in these marketplaces and build specific solutions for the users of them as well. And it's a different game than agency model, but definitely very viable if done properly.
Well, you have a captured total addressable market. So let's say you're trying to build a CPQ solution like Happily. You have 250,000 customers who are already on HubSpot now that you could potentially sell your solution to. And then HubSpot can help market that solution for you. So there's a lot of benefits to building your application on top of a pre-existing solution. I think of like Klaviyo, I think of like Marketo. Those are actually standalone. There's a lot of consultants out there who just work Marketo and then
Yeah.
will do a Marketo Salesforce integration, or Klaviyo to a Shopify. But there'll be a Klaviyo supported organization. And I think Klaviyo and several of the other ones, they're all becoming sophisticated enough that you really need to start leveraging a consultant for it to get the most out of it. And companies are realizing they just don't have the in-house talent. And nor should they, to be honest. Like their business is whatever their business is. It isn't to become a Marketo expert or a
Yeah.
HubSpot expert. Now, that being said, you still want people internally in your team, admins, business users who know HubSpot, who can help direct and guide the project
Yeah.
to where it's going to be.
Yeah, maybe this is a couple of things. I want to get into like the sort of revenue sides of it and lead flow and stuff like that. So I'm super fascinated how that works within the HubSpot ecosystem. But I guess from a general like founder side of it, so my business, I run it as lean as possible. Like our CRM is built in Notion. It's free.
Yeah.
Like I don't have anything.
Yeah.
With like there's very few contractors, no full-time employees. Like my goal is to run as lean as possible, grow as big as possible, and just run a cash flow machine. Other people want to run different
businesses.
Yeah, very different outcomes. I'm not raising VC capital. I'm just trying to run it as profitably as possible and get as big as possible. Is there a specific tipping point that you find when people should be investing in their HubSpot ecosystem or their CRM ecosystem or something like that? Is it a revenue amount? Is it a client amount? Is it an employee amount? Like what is the tipping point in your opinion when people should actually invest in building out like a strong CRM or HubSpot ecosystem?
You're referring to the perspective of a company leveraging.
Like me, I'm a founder. Like I'm a founder of a business. When should I like pony up the cash and really invest in this?
Well, generally it's when you start finding out your existing systems are no longer sufficient to support your own sales, marketing, and service growth. So you start finding out like, I just don't know how to email the right people. My sales team don't necessarily have the right systems to do the outreach. I need something that's more cohesive across the organization. I need better reporting, I need better analytics. I need the ability to track more easily. I want to have enablement tools built into my application. I want to do more than just like keep track of records inside the system. Most organizations, you start hitting a wall with whatever your CRM is, or you start hitting a wall with whatever your email marketing is, and saying, I can't reach the level of sophistication I need to be able to segment my audience the way I want to, or be able to give my sales team the tools they need to be successful in their outreach. So oftentimes what ends up happening is people come across and they hit that wall and they say, okay, I need to start looking for something else out there. That happens in all businesses. It happens in, companies like us where we're using a particular application. It was sufficient for a period of time, but we're starting to come across issues with scalability. And we need to say, okay, what other applications should we be leveraging to increase our scalability of what we're doing today? So it comes down to scalable. Now, technology should be a force multiplier.
Yeah.
It's designed to augment what your existing team is currently doing. So when you take it through that lens, you have two choices. You can either use brute force, do what you're doing now, and just hire more people and add staff, or you can use technology to make your existing team that much more productive. So rather than having to hire 5 more marketers, you can essentially do the exact same amount of output with the same number of marketers you have today.
Yeah.
Same thing with sales, CRM, service. So, especially with the rise of AI that's able to start handling some of the communication with your customers, you start have to ask yourself, well, what technologies out there are going to incorporate AI into it that is even more so a force multiplier for that team. So I definitely believe it comes down to when you start realizing I just got to hire people to meet what I need to be able to do versus is the technology that ends up becoming the roadblock to my
Yeah.
ultimate scale.
Fair. So it's a pain associated decision when things
Yes.
start breaking and friction is created. It's like, okay, I need something better than this, or I need to improve what I currently have.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And in most
Always nicer when it's a
organizations,
numbers related, like black and white. Oh, million ARR, like boom, it's time to upgrade. But I guess it's never that simple.
I mean, you may have a $20 million business and never use a CRM.
Yeah.
There are companies out there that have absolutely achieved that level of success simply
Yeah.
because it's, product-led growth and didn't need to really keep track of anything.
I was thinking more like boomer businesses, like a window cleaning business or pool installation. Like those guys run big businesses without CRM, so it can be done.
It can be, but even those businesses like the high ticket B2C, like home services industries, like they're all also realizing their competition is the one who's running circles around them because they have better technology to feed their sales or marketing teams.
Yeah.
And it becomes a competitive advantage when you start actually thinking about, is my technology enabling my team to do more?
Yeah.
And so just imagine taking a good rep and doubling their productivity because you gave them the tools to be more successful.
Yeah. 100%.
Or a leader who wants to know like where are my sales at, but doesn't have to wait, look into the rearview mirror 60 days prior and say, okay, that's where we are instead of up to date information.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's as you said, it should be a force multiplier and make everyone more efficient. And you touched base briefly. This is like my go-to thing to speak to other founders about right now is efficiencies with AI. And I really like tangible, I'm using this, it's saving me X amount of time or it's making me X amount of money. Because right now, obviously AI is the hot topic and there's all these AI wrapper businesses, but there's also just like the core access to the actual LML models themselves and just using them directly. Is there a specific way that you personally or the company is using AI right now that you've seen, like literally specific example of like we do this and that and it pumps out that? Like what are you guys using?
I don't want to give away all of our secrets, but we're very much
just one secret, just little
just one. Maybe I'll preface that by saying we're very much an AI first company. So part of our strategy is not just helping clients leverage AI themselves, but how do we use AI to make ourselves more efficient? So as you scale an organization, especially professional services, you have to have documented process for everything. This is how we do business. Great. Well, throughout the professional service organization, we're nearly 80 people, is you constantly have questions about, well, has anyone done this? Has anyone done that? What has happened when you come across this scenario in the past? Well, that's a great use case for AI because you're able to start training AI. You're able to start training particular GPTs and say, okay, this is our GPT for manufacturing, HubSpot, and all the issues we've come across. So these are things that we're currently working on now to start so a team member can easily look up information versus having to go ask 10 other people what they need to get done. So the top use case for AI for ProServe is the ability to easily find information and answers more quickly because time is money. Literally, time is money for our clients. So it's a matter of improving productivity internally. And that means collecting all the information and building it out. Now we're experimenting with several different platforms to more so than just using OpenAI ChatGPT to be able to give our teams the ability to quickly find this information and surface it. But as a professional services organization, one area to really be able to focus on is how are you leveraging AI internally? And what's also really interesting about it, the larger the organization, the bigger moat you're going to get because you have that many more people, that many more use cases you've come across that you can start building your knowledge base.
Yeah.
But I think of AI as really kind of like four separate categories. First you have your content. You're just kind of starting with content. That's what everyone's starting with AI is content. Then you have your data. Now it's filling in data for you. It's finding data. It's finding information. It's filling in property fields. It's filling in information. Now I think we're in the analyst stage where it's analyzing data for you. Like in HubSpot, for example, you can have deal summaries and go through everything, just organize and tell you what your next step should be. So it's almost like having a full-time analyst next to you. The leap, and this is the leap of AI, which is not there yet, but is the operator.
Yeah.
Now in AI, and you've heard ChatGPT operator, and you've heard of that, where it's now actually doing things for you versus just telling you what to do.
Yeah.
So although I think we're in the first three, we've surpassed content, we've surpassed this data collection, and we're definitely firmly entrenched in the analyst phase of AI. The next phase of AI is like, hey, just go out and do all these things for me and come back once you're done.
Yeah. Have you played with Operator? Have you used it yourself?
Yes. It's very good, but it's incredibly slow for the activities and tasks I'm giving it to see, can it do what I need to get done?
Yeah.
We're absolutely experimenting with what it can do for the business and the organization, because I think whatever we see today, a year from now is going to be night and day.
Yeah.
And so I see the potential of it. I'll put it like that.
100%. I'm at same boat. I've used Operator, blew my mind, but I could just do it faster. So it actually doesn't save me much, doesn't save me time. But if this is iteration 1, like V7 of this is going to be insane.
Correct.
So you got to play around with it and see what ends up happening. So I guess just to summarize, like the core function right now is knowledge base and access to information.
Knowledge base. And I think that's really for any organization that wants to listen. If you just focus on knowledge base as an organization, doesn't matter if you're a small business, medium, or enterprise, and you're able to start using that, you're already ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Because what you're really doing is you're just making access to information that much faster based upon all the knowledge your organization has built, but at your fingertips.
Yeah. And how are you actually building that knowledge base? As a custom GPT or as a project folder?
It's a combination of things that we're doing right now. So both as a custom GPT and also we're using certain tools to start organizing and gathering all this information into a knowledge base outside of HubSpot. HubSpot also has a lot of these capabilities that they're building for sales and marketing teams.
Yeah.
So when people tend to ask me like, hey, how are you using HubSpot? Well, if I give them the example of kind of the 4 stages of AI and before operator stage, but an analyst stage, these are the things you can do as an analyst.
Yeah.
Or the AI can do for you today. And one thing it's really designed for is like chat. Someone comes to your, website, or someone comes to your service ticket. Your AI can probably handle most of the challenges. And in fact, I'm pretty sure customers prefer to communicate with AI versus without. We've surpassed a day where they're like, let me talk to a human. Or like, no, let me talk to your AI.
Yeah. I know. It's still, I get calls from AI or whatever, I'm interacting with them. I'm like, just give me a human. Like, it's way better. But eventually a tipping point will happen, and it'll be interesting to see. And it won't be gradual. It will be gradual. It won't be immediate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's inevitable. But yeah, the use cases are crazy in business and in life. Like this past weekend, I ran out of my audio. You can do like chat, like the one that speaks to you, like the voice.
Oh yeah. I use it all the time.
Yeah, so I never really used it. I use it from time to time, but I actually ran out of credit this past week, as I'm limited amount of time in my premium account. And I ran out of credit because I got ChatGPT to run a trivia game for my kids. It was wild though. I heard someone do this on a podcast, and I told it, the instructions were like, I have 2 kids, one's Ryder, one's Blake. And I said, I want you to run trivia for my 2 kids and keep score. Ask them each 10 questions. They have to get progressively harder, and it has to be about Paw Patrol. And it was wild because it asked, and it called them by name. It asked questions. They got progressively harder. It kept score after each round. They mentioned the score and what's going on, how many rounds were left and stuff like that. It was really cool. Unfortunately, once we finished the game, I was like running out of credits, and my son wanted to play again. But these use cases are endless. Like you could literally do it for anything. And I heard someone mention that idea, and I did it at home like the next day. So in business and in life, it's really depends how much you want to adopt it and engage it in your life, because it can be beneficial for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're a creative individual, this is your golden age.
Oh,
Like this is
100%.
the golden age of creatives because a lot of people out there who know how to execute, get particular work done, but they may be missing the creative aspect of connecting all the dots. If you're an individual who can connect dots, you can formulate your ideas so much faster with AI. You can formulate your thought process so much more quickly. You can spend less time debating yourself and more time executing on whatever that idea you have.
Yeah.
And I think AI in particular, you just got to become comfortable with it. I mean, everyone's talking about it. Like you can't go on LinkedIn without someone mentioning something about AI. I mean,
Yeah.
listen, I'm part of the story. I mention stuff about AI all the time.
Yeah.
Um, but it's actually really interesting that a lot of organizations are talking about AI, but they don't even have their base system set up.
Yeah.
Like, it's like just start with getting your CRM, your market
Yeah,
automation,
but
your
it's
service system set up.
shiny red ball syndrome. It's like whatever is the new thing, everyone just
Yeah,
wants to chase it around. But no, I couldn't agree with you in terms of the creative thing. Like it's couldn't be more true across the board. It's like to do and come up with ideas and execute on things. Like you can use AI to do that. If you want to create something physical, you can use a 3D printer. If you want to like get something creative out there in the world, you can post it on TikTok with 0 followers and go viral. Like it's pretty
correct.
crazy the world that we operate in now of like I don't want to say like democratization, but it's really what it is of like creativity is like if you're creative and you put a little bit of work in, like you can literally create whatever you want, and the world will tell you if it's good or not, or if it's helpful or not, pretty quickly. So it's pretty wild to know this is the era that we're in now, and where it's going to go from 2025 to 2035 is like no one knows.
But the one thing that I think is happening, for better or for worse, is almost like a group think because AI is telling pretty much people the same thing.
Yeah,
And so, in some sense, creatives are even more important than ever before, for they can think original thoughts.
yeah,
And those original thoughts combined with whatever AI is helping you think through is where that differentiation is going to happen. And so, one thing I do say is like professional service organizations, we're entering the golden age. And you may say, well, why is that the case? Like AI is going to just take it. Well, no. It turns out you need people who have institutional knowledge about whatever that particular thing is you're trying to do and accomplish, to be able to at least direct AI to what you want to be able to do.
yeah,
And so when I say we're entering the golden age, it also means that the consultant can be that much more valuable for their particular company because they're leveraging AI to get things done that much faster. But
yeah,
there's also not enough consultants to go around who have the institutional knowledge to be able to do the work our clients are asking us for in the first place. That you need AI. It's not oh, this is a cool to have. It's like, no, it's a must have. I can't just go invent people who know how to do this work. I
yeah.
need to make the people who know how to do this work that much more
Yeah,
productive.
but truthfully, I hope the perception is still this is a nice to have, because if everyone else treats it as a nice to have and you treat it as a must have, like you have a huge competitive advantage over everyone else. So the less people adopt it, the better from a competitive landscape. But
Of
yeah,
course. Yeah.
exactly.
And I think it's really hard for people to understand, like to grasp where it's going to be, where it is right now, how best to use it for the organization. Professional services is interesting because, the platforms want you to set up AI for companies, but the platforms also have a difficulty telling you what those use cases are.
Yeah,
Like, we need AI experts. Okay. In what?
yeah,
What
yeah,
do you want AI to do for the client? Like, what do you want us to help the client understand? So they're looking for what those use cases are just as much as the company themselves who's asking for, I need AI.
yeah. It's true. The applications are endless, and you have to like niche down to be able to go and deliver on it. Go to AI side quest there, because you can go on forever
Yeah.
talking about them. I've played with so many of them, and it's really interesting to see where it's going to evolve. And I continue to play with them, but some of these wrapper businesses have not really impressed me, even the ones who have taken off. But to each their own.
I would agree with you. I think, in my own personal opinion, AI, I've said this before, is like spell check. If you're a word processor, you're not a word processor without spell check built
Yeah,
into it. You're not a software company nowadays without AI embedded in some capacity in what you're doing.
yeah,
It's less so a wrapper or a standalone business, unless you're like Anthropic or OpenAI,
yeah,
and you're more of like, how do we build AI into our existing service offerings to help the
yeah,
user get more out of it? I think it's hard if you're an AI first company
yeah,
and that's what you do. because that's changing so fast.
Yeah, I
Like,
said this on another episode. I said the same thing. It's like I think the big winners in AI are the big platforms, like the big LLMs. Like
yeah,
they'll be big winners. But in terms of like wrapper adoption, like if someone came to me saying that we're an AI CRM, am I going to rip myself out of HubSpot and put myself into this AI CRM, or am I going to use HubSpot and use the AI they've integrated into the platform? So the big software companies are still going to benefit the most from this because they already have the customer base, they already have the brand recognition, they already have the stickiness of the product, and now they're just going to get a better product. You're not going to rip yourself out of whatever you're doing right now. Like I'm not going to rip up my WordPress website and move it to an AI website. It's WordPress is
correct.
going to use AI.
Yes, and you nailed it. I mean, that's been my thought process as well. I mean, um, AI is to your point designed for the big platform. I mean, the big platforms out there are using now. What the one advantage AI is going to give to, let's say, an upstart is unstructured data. So imagine both structured and unstructured data, what's coming into the system. Imagine you just have a phone call and your notes and everything. Well, one AI can help you catch up to the bigger platform if you leverage it correctly. So you have a phone call. Obviously everyone does transcriptions and takes AI and tells you key takeaways and then puts that information into the appropriate fields with all your next steps, writes your email, does everything for you, and you just show up to the meeting.
Yeah.
Like the big platforms are all building that capability. But if you're an AI first, call it CRM, in theory, you can catch up to the big platforms because you didn't have to spend all that time building all the property fields and all the other data models in order to support the
Yeah.
structured data, because now you're all completely built off of unstructured data that's coming into your system to enable that individual to do things faster. That being said, I probably still would not go with an AI first CRM. I would stick with one of the
Yeah.
incumbents, because what happens as you go out market in your enterprise is the requirements and their needs become more complex. Like everything becomes exponentially more challenging, like user permissions, properties, fields, workflows, approvals. Everything becomes that much more so because you're also then having to integrate with like 10 other systems, and you're trying to create a central source of truth. And then you have like 50 different people who all have their own needs inside the system that is creating additional complexity, all to run their business. Like nothing what
Yeah.
they're doing is wrong. It just has to be configured for their needs. So I think a lot of the AI first organizations out there are designed for the SMB, which is fine. I think it's hard to scale to the upmarket at that point if you're a software company.
Yeah, fair enough. No, I think that's a fair take on that side of the world, and who knows how it's going to pan out, but it's a pretty good prediction.
Yeah.
A couple things, and we'll wrap shortly. But I wanted to speak to you specifically because it's super unique from a sales side of it. As I mentioned, like I come from now I'm in the service industry, cold calling, cold emailing, networking, and reaching out, sort of old school sales. When you work in a system like HubSpot, it's very unique and maybe political, and you'll have to shed some light on it. But I'd love to understand a little bit, like what does your lead flow look like? Where are you sourcing deals from? Is it all coming from HubSpot? Do you have relationships with the sales reps directly? Like pull the curtain back on what that looks like, because I think it'll be interesting to learn about HubSpot, but anyone who wants to work in these ecosystems, it's good information to have, because you're going to have to play ball in the Shopify ecosystem or the Klaviyo ecosystem or whatever it may be. But yeah, if you can shed some light on how that works, or maybe even percentage breakdowns of like where your business comes
Yeah.
from.
So I think I can probably take a step back in the story. So before we merged, the OBO group had spent a lot of time building relationships with HubSpot reps, managers, directors, executives. So say probably close to 75% of the OBO group's work came directly from HubSpot. People brought us in, they want us to co-sell deals. So we really spent a lot of time developing a go-to-market motion with HubSpot, where we could be their trusted solutions partner. And it's critical they have that. Like HubSpot can't close these deals at the volume they want to close them without partners who actually were doing the implementation. Because most people are not just going to hire the software. It's like, hiring the architectural, or all the materials you need to build a home but not having anyone to build it.
Yeah.
So you want to go in as a joint team to be able to sell this. So Aptitude 8, what they had done a phenomenal job with, which was the reason why we kept the Aptitude 8 name instead of the OBO name, is they had built a very organic marketing engine. So they led with getting leads from organic methods, content development, events, webinars, you name it. And so it was almost flipped, where 75% of their business was organic, 25% came from HubSpot. Now it's pretty much like 50-50 at the organization. There's a big emphasis on us to continue our organic marketing efforts. To position Aptitude as the preeminent premier technical consultancy in the HubSpot ecosystem. And that's what people know us as. And that's the message we're getting out there. And you may have heard of stuff like, Rev Ops or Marketing Ops or go to GTM engineering, which I think are becoming more popular phrases. And I always put that underneath the kind of the technical consultancy umbrella, which we do a lot of those items as well. But part of this is positioning the organization where you have to have a go-to-market selling motion with HubSpot. So we've invested in a partnerships role. All they do is work with HubSpot, but they also work with app partners and other partners who bring us into business as referrals. But it also means focusing on what is our actual GTM motion for getting organic leads. So stuff that doesn't come directly from HubSpot. So you can't put all of your eggs in one basket. But HubSpot needs us. They need our ability to help them sell. They need our ability to help them solution architect, how to set things up. And also our team ultimately has to say, yes, this can be done generally for a client to say, I'm okay to do this, move forward with the investment.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. So now it's 50-50, half through HubSpot, half through marketing channels, sales channels, whatever it may be.
Correct.
On the marketing side of it, is it like, is it running events and doing like branding exercises? Is it paid ads? Is there certain channels that's working?
All of the above. And as much as I want to share what channels are working for us, there are certainly channels that are really working for us. But one thing Aptitude 8 did is they were at the forefront of really content development. And you still see us out there on LinkedIn all the time. The channel is becoming very crowded.
Yeah.
So you have to start thinking strategically, like what is next. And that's the part I'm not going to give away today. But you have to start thinking strategically about, well, how are you going to differentiate yourself? So from the very top of the recording here, you asked me like to niche. Well, for some companies, that is how they're going to differentiate in a crowded marketplace and get their brand across, is by niching. And there's different ways that you can absolutely do that. So just like when you think through your marketing efforts, you got to think about like, where do you want to differentiate? If you're just trying to play in the same pond that everyone else is playing in, you're going to have a really hard uphill battle. Yeah. So it's kind of thinking strategically about what are marketing activities you can do that will ultimately be beneficial for the organization in the long run. And that's where it becomes more of okay, I know where we are today, but where are we going to be 12 to 24 months from now? And that's where you got to start placing bets.
Yeah, for sure. And you're running a company of 80 people now. Like you got to plan ahead and forecast and hire and fire and whatever it may be. And
we can't just scale like this, like a software company. It doesn't cost you any more to sell, quote, more. I mean, there's incremental. For me, I can only scale as fast as we have people I can scale with.
Yeah, exactly. It's very different than the like hockey stick growth that you see from some of these SaaS companies, where it's just about distributing the same things. You build it once, sell it a million times. You guys have to sell and build, sell and build.
The question probably is like, and I've said this before, like building a SaaS company is so hard to get off the ground. The scaling is way easier.
Yeah.
Building a professional services business is pretty darn easy to get off the ground. Yeah. But scaling is incredibly challenging.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what everyone in SaaS is trying to chase, product market fit. And they think once you get product market fit, then the scaling will be easy. And I guess you guys are the opposite. Is like, you clearly know there's product market fit. You just have to scale it strategically instead of exponentially over time. But
you're in a people business.
For both businesses.
Yeah. Ultimately, in the end, it comes down to your utilization. Is your team fully utilized? Are you hitting utilization benchmarks? I mean, that's the difference between making money and not making money.
Yeah.
You said it earlier, Dan. The key is to have it doesn't matter if you're trying to sell your company, build it for private equities, get VC money, create a profitable company that's self-sustaining. That should be the goal of a business. That's the goal of any business. I mean, there's a lot of companies out there like scale to take over a market because listen, no matter how fast I scale, I am not taking over the entire HubSpot implementation marketplace. Yeah. There's no way in the world I'll have 50,000 employees, which would probably be what it would require to own the marketplace.
Yeah.
But For us, I think it comes down to a certain sense of pride and being the best place, being the best organization, what we do, being known as a company. If you go work with Aptitude, it's like IBM, you'll never get fired for hiring us.
Yeah.
We're by all means, we charge premium prices because we pay the most money in the marketplace. We have the best talent. We have the best processes. We have the best way of delivering work. We have the best way of executing and getting clients what they need. And so it's a matter of positioning your premium brand, which is what we are. We're a premium brand for the upmarket enterprise who want to leverage HubSpot to its fullest extent, and staying true to that in the people you hire, how you build process, how you continue to improve the organization. But ultimately, in the end, I'm in the people business, and I guess the metaphor that used to be said all the time was, every day your business goes out the door. Literally, they walk out, they go home. You got to hope they come back the next day.
Yeah.
Because if they don't, you don't have a company, and that's
Yeah.
professional services.
100%. That's a great bow on top of it to summarize what it's like to be in professional services, the good and the ugly. But I'm sure you've had some sleepless nights. I'm sure you've had some celebratory nights as well. And you guys have obviously done a great job. And I appreciate you shedding some light on the industry and what you guys are up to. And hopefully next time we speak, you guys are like the number one HubSpot partner, not the number two. So
we plan to be number one.
Keeping an eye on the leaderboard.
Yeah, there is a leaderboard out there. We are absolutely pushing ourselves to be number one. As any professional service organization, the number one thing that keeps me at night is people.
There you go. That's what it all comes down to.
Retaining, are we hiring the best? Are we training the best? Are we retaining the best? What can we be doing better?
Yeah, you're in the people business. You can't run a business without the right people. And if you find the right people, it makes your life a lot easier. If you find the wrong people, it makes your life hell.
Yes.
So I'm sure you've dealt with both. And 100% good people rated Aptitude 8 is the name of the game.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you jumping on and thanks for the chat. And I will tell everyone else to check on the leaderboard.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Dan, thank you again for having me on today. It was a fun conversation.
Okay, Noah. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.